Let's begin as usual by settling our body, speech, and mind in their natural state. Checking our posture and taking 3 deep breaths. Relaxing with each out breath. Releasing any points of tension in our bodies. Releasing all mental concerns, worries. Become aware of the present moment. Sensations, perceptions, emotions arising in this moment. And let your breathing be natural. And let's set our motivation for this practice to cultivate our minds so that we can dissolve ego grasping and be of benefit to others. Now count 21 breaths while cultivating relaxation, stability, and vividness. Now let your breath flow naturally. Release the counting and stay in that flow of presence, of abiding in calm. Let go of distracting thoughts. Giving a break to your mind, letting it rest in the present for a few minutes. Now let's reflect on the following points. Exchanging self and others does not mean I become you and you become me. It means changing who is important and cherished from self to others. So in order to do this, first reflect that suffering is suffering, no matter whose it is, mine or others. It is to be removed. Although we think our body is mine, in fact, it is not. Our genes came from the sperm and egg of our parents. And the food that made the fertilized egg grow into an adult came from other beings. It is only due to the force of familiarity that we grasp this body as mine. And therefore as important and worthy of comfort and happiness. Similarly, through familiarity, we can come to consider others' happiness as important and worthy as we now consider our own. In our current self-centered confusion, whenever we are able to, we take any goodness and happiness for ourselves and give any difficulties and discomfort to others. Seeing the disadvantages of self-preoccupation and the advantages of cherishing others and exchanging your wish for happiness from self to others. Now cultivate strong compassion wishing to take their problems and give them your happiness. Now imagine in front of you a person or group of people who are experiencing difficulties in some way. And think how wonderful it would be if I could experience those problems instead of them. Imagine taking on their problems and confusion by inhaling them in the form of black smoke. The smoke turns into a thunderbolt or a bomb, which completely obliterates the black lump of selfishness and ignorance at your heart chakra. Visualize that smoke turning into a thunder that destroys completely that black rock of ego grasping at the center of your chest, dissolving it and leaving no trace. Now enlarge that group. Bringing more sentient beings, friends, strangers, and enemies. And continue doing this, taking on their problems. In the form of dark smoke, which turn into a thunderbolt or bomb. The moment it hits that black lump at your heart chakra, that represents our selfishness, our ignorance, it completely destroys it. Both disappear completely. Now, feel the open space, the lack of wrong conception about self and others. Rest in that spaciousness. In this space, imagine a white light, the nature of your love that radiates to all beings. Imagine to multiply and transform your body, possessions, and positive potential into whatever others need. And with each out breath, with delight, give them to those people. Imagine them being satisfied and happy. Think that they have all the circumstances conducive to attaining enlightenment. Rejoice that you've been able to bring this about. Feel you're strong enough to take on others' misery and give them your happiness. Be glad that you can imagine doing this. And now just rest in present awareness. Let's finish dedicating this practice so we can continue dissolving ego grasping, selfishness, and start thinking of others and wishing them the same happiness we wish for ourselves. So it can be difficult to do this practice because we are so habituated to want the good things for us and not care about what others get. We are used to take the biggest slice of the cake. We are used to think of our comfort, our well-being, our happiness, and don't care too much about others or give them the leftovers. So it might feel like it's so difficult to put their happiness in the same level as ours, and even preferring that they get the good things instead of us, right? We generate so much fights and wars and problems because we're always trying to accumulate and to grab the best for ourselves. And the others want the same, so we start fighting and competing and have conflicts. So the main cause of our suffering is that ignorance and that reification of the self and self-grasping, self-cherishing. At the root, that is the main cause of suffering. So this is a meditation that helps us start dissolving that grasping and start developing the wisdom that we are interdependent with others, that suffering must be alleviated no matter whose it is, and that we all want happiness. So if we think of the happiness of others, instead of being so focused on our own happiness, we are actually creating the causes of our happiness, which is funny. His Holiness the Dalai Lama sometimes says that it's kind of smart, right? If you are focused on giving and caring about others, because you're actually creating causes for your happiness. So it might seem like you could take it like a selfish strategy, but in the end, because you're caring for others, you're still gonna get happiness too. So that's the best approach. And we might feel that is a bit scary to take dark smoke and take on the problems of others. It might feel, we might feel a little bit of resistance or fear or not wanting to do it. So we start with people and beings that are our close ones, our loved ones. For example, a mother wouldn't think it twice. They would take the problems of their child if they could and give all their happiness and all their well-being immediately. So that's the kind of love and compassion we want to develop, that we are willing to take on the sufferings of others and give our happiness. But we don't have to be scared for doing this. It's not going to happen. You're not going to actually take on their problems and their sufferings and their illness. It's not going to happen. It's just it's a practice to dissolve our ego, to dissolve our grasping. It's doing the opposite of what we are used to do. Although very advanced practitioners, it is mentioned in the teachings that they have achieved such level of realization that if they want, they can take the suffering of others in some situations. Not all their suffering and achieve enlightenment for them, but they can help. So, for example, there's the story of a realized master who was giving a teaching in Tibet. There was a group of people, and then there was a dog that was passing, and somebody threw a stone to the dog and made a wound. But the teacher took the pain of the dog in that moment and started having the injury, the wound in his body at that moment, so that the dog didn't have to suffer that pain. So there are cases like this. Or, for example, there's the story of Geshe Sogyal, the consort of Padmasambhava, who was also a very realized Buddha. She was the one who registered all his teachings and actually taught these teachings of Dzogchen for many years, and she helped develop all these teachings in Tibet. But when she was a practitioner, but a very realized one, she was traveling, and at that time it was dangerous to travel in those mountains, and there were a lot of bandits. So in one of those trips, these guys came out of the bushes and attacked her. And she started practicing a lot of compassion and loving kindness for them, to the point that she transformed their minds by that action of compassion and loving kindness, and they were subdued, their mental afflictions, and they became aware of that she was a realized master and became her disciples. So there's many stories where great compassion of these masters have been able to actually help others, right? And I also was thinking of that. Remember that movie of Les Miserables, The Miserables, of Victor Hugo? There's a scene where this guy comes out of he escapes jail, and he had suffered so much tortures and things that he basically hated people, and he just wanted to care for himself. So he comes to like a monastery, and there is this priest there, or monk, I don't know, old man, and they receive him, they give him lodging and food for the night before he continues his trip. And he sees all the silver spoons and these things that are quite valuable. And so when everybody's sleeping, he steals all these valuable things, put them in a bag, and just leaves. But then a little bit further, he's caught by some policemen, and these guys see the bag full of these things. They know this must belong to the priest in the monastery. So they come to the monastery and say, "We got him. He was stealing these things. Do you want us to bring him to jail?" And this is a very compassionate old man. And he says, "No, I gave these things to him. It was a gift. And by the way, you forgot this and this and this," and he started putting more things in his bag. And that action transforms the mind of this man. It makes him see that still there is love and compassion. So after that, receiving that kindness, he becomes a person that is always caring for others and does so much good for others. In the rest of the movie, you can see all the good things he does for people because of the action of kindness of this old man. It made him see that he can also be as compassionate and loving as him, right? So by doing this meditation and training in focusing on the happiness of others, we are putting seeds in our mind stream. We're cultivating a habit so that we actually start caring for others and spreading that love and that compassion, and it becomes part of the way we are. We're focused on alleviating the suffering, not only ours, everyone's. Not only caring about our happiness, but caring about the happiness of all. So in that way, every act of kindness you have can be a seed that has ramifications, and it goes and grows, and that person can be kind to others. We expand that loving kindness and that compassion. So this practice is exchanging self for others, and is taking and giving. It's also called Thosamling, and we take the suffering, we give our happiness. And it's really mind-blowing because it's contrary to what we have learned and tried to do all our lives. All our lives we're chasing happiness and not caring about stepping on others or inflicting suffering on others in that pursuit of happiness, yet we never reach it. We're always creating and experiencing more suffering. But the moment we change the focus and we focus on others, something starts changing. And we see it with persons that have dedicated their lives to be of benefit to others. I mean, we see people like the Mother Teresa and so many people that go to countries where there's illness and poverty and difficulties, and they don't care about their own comfort. They care about helping others. And in the moment, they might be experiencing overwhelm by seeing all that suffering, but they find fulfillment and happiness in that caring for others. So we can start practicing this Thosamling, and it's a very effective method to cultivate the causes of happiness, long-term happiness. So we don't think about our present discomfort and our present problems. And also by not being so focused and thinking about our own problems, they kind of dissolve. And now we see there are other things that are important and that we can devote our lives to, and we can have more meaningful lives. So it's all for the greater good, right? So any questions about this practice? Was it difficult?
So this was Thosamling.
Thosamling. Yeah, it's a way of compassion and loving kindness too, and it's taking and giving.
What's the exact meaning of the word compassion? Is it Thosamling?
Thosamling is take and give.
Take and give.
To take and give, yeah.
And more in the beginning, in the visualization, we also did a little bit of exchanging self and others, right?
Yeah.
Exchanging
self and others. So it's like two practices combined. First, we did exchanging self and others, like thinking of their happiness is more important than ours. And then we do the Thosamling, like taking and giving. taking their problems and giving our happiness. Yes, Alma?
I know the Thosamling to do in a slightly different way.
There are
That
different
if
ways.
you feel something bad in you, then you think about others and wish and that suffer from the same thing and wish that they will not suffer from this, and then give them life.
Yeah, that's another way of doing Tonglen. For example, if you, I don't know, you have a headache, you think of all the people that are experiencing a headache in that moment, and you say, may they be free, and through this pain that I'm experiencing, may I purify and experience their pain and remove it from them. So you imagine taking their pain, and kind of because you are having that pain, you're transforming. Instead of saying, why me, why I have this pain, you take it. And then you send them healing and loving kindness and different things. You can also do Tonglen as a way of doing combined compassion and loving kindness practice by wishing, may you be free of suffering and the causes of suffering, taking the smoke. May you find happiness and the causes of happiness, sending light. Compassion, loving kindness. Compassion, loving kindness. Kind of in alternated and connected with the breath. And you can also do the visualization. Yes?
So you give the example of the movie, where
Yeah.
someone stole from the monastery, and
Yeah.
so this sounds very idealistic and works in a monastic, setup. But what if you are a regular layperson or a business owner, and how does that work out in that scenario? Because you will be taken for granted and taken for a fool, and it's not just your happiness that is being ruined. Other employees or other stakeholders who depend on the business are also affected by such afflictions of someone. If you do the same similar act, how does it play out in a real world layperson's thing? In a monastic setup, obviously, because you don't have any attachment, it's fine. But if you're running an enterprise or something like that.
Actually, in the same movie, they show how this man that escaped from jail, that has nothing, no possessions, starts helping people, whatever, in any way he can. And he becomes a respected businessman, he becomes an important person in the town where he established himself, and then he's always helping. Like he sees people that are trapped with a cart and he goes and helps them. He has a business and he gives jobs and he helps his employees, and he's always helping. He makes it the purpose of his life. So it is possible. Of course, as you say, it has to be in balance, because if you take from your business partners who are not practitioners and you say, well, we have to take all your possessions and give them to these people, then you're kind of deciding for them and not caring about them, right? So you find a middle point. But of course you have to take care of yourself. If you give all your possessions, there's practitioners that have given all their possessions and they don't care, and that's beautiful. But if you're going to become a problem for society or for your family or for others who now have to take care of you because you don't have a job, you don't have any clothes, you don't have food, then you become a problem to others. So you find a balance where you take care of yourself and your business, but you say, with my possessions and with my business, how can I benefit the biggest number of beings, right? So I can start by benefiting my employees and paying them good salaries instead of exploiting them. I can share the earnings with my business partners and not be competing and trying to get the biggest part for myself. So you try to apply these principles to any situation you are in. Same with your family, same with your neighbors, same with the people that are around you, right? I mean, we can start practicing right now with everybody that is surrounding us in this retreat. There are so many beings around us. So we can start practicing and focusing in their happiness and what they need. So, of course, we cannot just jump from the person we are now to becoming the Mother Teresa or becoming the priest of the movie or becoming the Dalai Lama. But gradually, it's a gradual path. We start training just in our cushion, very comfortable, without having to give up anything yet, just practicing in our minds, putting the seeds. And then slowly we say, what if instead of me taking all the chocolate cake, I take a little piece and I give the rest of the cake to everybody else? Or what if I, instead of having so much possessions stored in the closet in my house, I start taking them out and see what is still in good shape and still useful, and I start giving it to others that need it? What if I start making changes in my life according to what I am able to do without forcing myself, right? Like little by little. Anything else? Any other question? No? Yes?
So, this is about one of the other meditations that you taught that day, oscillation, I thought, mindfulness, where you, the one before, that was mindfulness, the oscillation thing, awareness of awareness, you send it out and you get back again.
No, that's a shamatha practice. And you're just focusing on who is the observer and then releasing into space.
Yeah.
Focusing, releasing. Yes.
So I just wanted to know, what is the objective of it, in the sense, what is the point of releasing it and getting it back? Is it kind of like to create a distance between what you're feeling and like an observer of your own life? Because a lot of times you're playing, like let's say you're playing on a stage, and now suddenly you're like behind the stage and observing. Is the objective of the practice to create that distance?
No, the objective is to make it clearer. You don't have to do it. You can just focus on awareness and be there resting in shamatha without a sign, without an object. But at the beginning, in order to get how to do that, because it can be a bit confusing, we ask who is observing, who is listening, who is the experiencer. So you look, and by doing that inversion or looking at awareness, you might have sensation around your face or your eyes or your chest, or having like a sensation that you're inverting awareness upon itself. But we think awareness is somewhere inside our bodies. But by releasing back into space, we start expanding and noticing that awareness is infinite. It's not just limited in this body, and kind of dissolving into that space of the mind too, kind of seeing that they are non-dual, right? Just relaxing. Also, another purpose is because if we just focus on inverting awareness upon itself, we might bring a lot of lung to the head and start feeling tightness, or in this upper part of the body, because we're concentrating too much, putting so much vividness, trying to find the observer. But if we take moments for relaxing and releasing back into space, that balances. And by doing that, kind of dissolving that focus, that strong focus, we also are going to recognize that awareness better. It's going to become a way in which you can give continuity of looking at the observer, but without too much pressure, too much focus. So it's an exercise that helps. But you don't have to do it all the session. You can do it a little bit and then just stay in the middle, where you are aware of the awareness, but at the same time you're just resting and open and spacious. Okay?